So the next topic I want to talk about is Magic Leap, right? I don't know how much you guys have heard about this, but Magic Leap they said that they've probably been leaking info to try to kind of raise their prices on potential interest buyers out there as a way to kind of, it's a crap. It's not doing well. They're not finding a way to actually make money off of it. I want to know your thoughts. Let's start with Ray. You've been kind of impressed with their tech initially, but it's kind of been in a slow grind. What are your feelings about it?
No, and I think the tech is still good, right? I mean, like for what it is. But trying to sell something for like $2,500 and not really giving consumers any sort of reason to spend that kind of money. And it was never for consumers. It never made it to actually being a consumer device yet. It was just doomed because there's no market for it, right? Cool tech also has to get into the hands of the people, right? And so not doing that, and of course the company was overvalued. They threw a bunch of money into it because AR is the new thing. So I don't know where they go from here. I have no idea because they've been real quiet lately. And then I did hear about how they're trying to sell the company, but like I have no idea what's going on. But it's none of this is shocking or news, right? Because it came out and everybody was like cool, and then just went about their business, right?
So how far away do you think, Richard? I know you've never been a huge fan of VR, but you've been kind of more hopeful with AR technology, and Magic Leap seems to be still in the forefront of this. Do you feel like the future is still too far away for Magic Leap to kind of profit or make a stand with this? Or do you think that they're just feeling out the industry right now to see if there's even any interest?
I think they're definitely. I'm trying to catch up on this because I had heard rumors about it. Most of the articles I'm like glancing through right now put it in a pretty negative light. Yeah, I like honestly like when I read through some of this, it's just like I'm a gamer, man. Like I need games in order to attract me, in order to a thing. Maybe your crazy love for your Half-Life VR game, Brandon, will be the game that actually changes like my opinion on these things. Or maybe it'll be something else. Who knows? Yeah.
Killer app.
All I know is that I mean, so I look at the technology and I'm like, dude, does this work with like for people like me with glasses? Like that's like always the thing that I'm super sensitive about. So I feel like I'm not even like the target consumer for a lot of these things. Cause I'm always just thinking like, dude, it's going to be like this big bulky thing on my head on top of my glasses. So I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I remember seeing like Magic Leap, like I kind of feel like I'm pouring one out for them right now because I feel like they're donezo. Like I remember like seeing that video of them reacting to some AR shit like years ago. It was really cool, but then it was like, okay, is that it? Like what's the actual game? What are the core loops? Like how do I progress? Like, like once you get past the novelty of it, it's like what else is there? Because a game is a lot more about the sustained sort of like interaction you have with the game itself or other players. And a cool piece of hardware is just that. It's just a cool piece of hardware, like I can buy sunglasses that play like music in the sides of their ears. Like there's always cool technology like that, but I'm not going to buy it just because it's not necessarily a new experience. And yeah, I don't know, man. $10 billion seems crazy. I can't even believe they raised $2 billion. I feel like maybe I should have become an investment guy or person.
Bro, if somehow they do find a buyer at 10 billion, that is the Magic Leap right there.
That's yeah.
In 2017, they valued themselves at 6 billion, and 3 years later, they're trying to kind of get 10 billion out of it. But I think you mentioned a couple roundtables before, Richard, that the gamer first kind of mentality definitely helps kind of drive the general consumer, right? And the phone is the best component right now for AR technology with Pokemon Go and whatever iteration next they have with that, or any other type of RPG. or MMORPG, MMO stuff, especially in time now, right? MMOs have been on the rise since everyone has been quarantined. So I don't think anybody's.
Yeah, I definitely think that. No, definitely not. It all comes down to the hardware and how accessible it is and how easy it is to use. I mean, it's kind of like when, the last couple of weeks I keep going like Stadia, what's the value prop? Like it's one of those things where it's like when I look at the VR headsets, and yes, it can give you like AR right in front of you, but as like the biggest threat to that is the phone, and the phones are always going to constantly get better. And even things like Pokemon Go is a great example of that technology in the works that have a more seamless sort of plug-in into your life. Whereas like you have to literally give up a lot of your senses to play this game, Magic Leap or anything that requires VR. And so, I look at a game like Beat Saber, and that's like taking that whole concept to like like up to 11, and that works and that's cool. But then like that's just one game, and that's not going to be enough to carry like an entire industry, or at least like change the way that like the mass consumer thinks about the product. So we'll see.
Yeah. No, yeah. I'll add to that so Half-Life Alyx, I actually dusted off my Vive yesterday. Okay. Yeah, I like literally dusted off the Vive, and like had to spend like an hour and a half updating drivers and all the different peripherals. Mm-hmm. And I bricked one of them, and then I had to figure out how to restore it. And then I restored it, and then I installed the driver. And then 2 hours later, I was actually playing Half-Life Alyx. And it's a great game.
Oh, yeah.
It's a fantastic game. It's a fantastic game. Mm-hmm. It is the gold standard for a first-person shooter in VR.
Yep.
I also then took off my headset within an hour, and then played Doom Eternal. so that's that will just put it all in perspective for you, right? Doom Eternal is way easier to get into, way easier to play. Half-Life Alyx is a great game. Again, I'm playing it on a Vive. I'm not even playing it on the $1,000 index, right? I'm playing on the lower spec hardware, and they did all of the VR things right in that game, right? The gravity glove stuff is amazing. Like it's good, right? But after an hour, I was like, okay, I'll come back to this, but I'm done. Let me play something that this will require all of this wire hanging out the back and like all of this craziness in my room, and like trying to make sure that I'm always facing in the right direction, and that my headphones don't get torn off my head because they're attached to my computer. Like I didn't have to deal with all that nonsense that was kind of ripping me out of the immersion, and just play Doom, which is also another great game. So like, I don't know if Half-Life Alyx is enough, but I do know that it is something that if you're making VR, you definitely have to pay attention to. I'm also blown away that Valve thought they could sell it for $60, and people are snatching it up, which is a price point that most VR games do not sell at. So yeah.
I'm hearing a lot of people saying it's taking them at least 20 hours, which is really long for a VR to kind of go through it. Me too. Right? Yeah. I think I was playing at the same time you were, Ray. I have a better headset. I have the Oculus Rift S. So it was literally just the headset and the controllers. I didn't have any camera setup, so it was a lot easier. But there is some type of setup, right? Just the headgear is an extra step, and I do feel that pain and extra effort just putting things on to experiment. I will say that, like you mentioned, playing Doom Eternal is a lot easier to get in, and you actually probably spend a lot more time. I played about 2 hours of Alyx, and I had to take it off because I was like disoriented after a while, and I usually don't. But I was in it. That was probably the longest session I ever spent in VR, and I was like in the shower, and I was kind of just not quite out of that world yet. I was like, oh wait. Okay, it was really crazy because I never really spent that long in VR to suddenly go in the real world, and I was like, oh wait, yeah, that's right, this is real life. So there was a statement with Gabe saying that we're closer to the Matrix than we really think we are, and it felt very true in that moment. I will say this:
the immersion, like the feeling of immersion, is really, really good. Like I have to say that. Yeah.
It did make me want to play it in a warehouse. You know what I mean? Because you technically can walk wherever, right? You do have a teleport thing to kind of help. But like you said, not everyone has a huge space to completely walk around the VR space. But I really wanted, I mean, that's probably where the omnidirectional treadmill can be very helpful. But it did make me feel like I want to walk around. Like I'm probably the 1% of VR user that is wanting to be active in the VR world. I want to walk around. But I want to go back to a month ago where I felt like Half-Life Alyx would be a major milestone for VR games to kind of step up from. I wonder, with Ray being like the Beat Saber hardcore, do you feel any differently after playing? Do you feel like there is a milestone that at least a new bar that a lot of VR games, at least, I mean, FPS is a sure thing, but like,
I feel,
yeah.
No, I feel like I haven't played a lot of it. I only played a little bit, right? And I still think like Beat Saber is definitely by far. It's just a game. It's just my type of game. You know what I mean? Like I just love that game, right? So like that's nothing I play is going to change my mind about that. But just holding up my hand and aiming the gun and actually looking down the sight, and then the gun fires where I expect it to fire. Like all of that felt really nice, and the gravity gun stuff felt nice. It's a little hard to kind of aim what objects you want to grab sometimes, but like otherwise, like it all feels nice, right? And it performed really well, even on my rig that's not the greatest, fastest rig in the world. Looked very nice, like I have no real complaints about that game, right? But I just feel I feel if you're going to make an FPS game now, you have to look at Half-Life Alyx in VR. Like you just have to, right? Because they did some interesting things. So,
does that make you
does it
at least try?
Does it change the whole game? Sorry. Like, does it change the whole game right now of VR in video games? I don't think so, right? Mm-hmm. But it's just really well done. Yeah.
I think a lot of people, if anything, are at least it's helping that industry, right? I think a lot of people are buying into VR and now are more open to trying VR games. And no, you don't think so? You don't think a lot of people tried VR for the first time, actually bought a device because of Half-Life Alyx, like a good percentage, or just too small percentage?
No. Those folks would have to be some hardcore Half-Life fans to be dropping the kind of money they would have to drop to play that game. You're talking between $1,000 to what's the cheapest? What's the Rift? The Rift is not the Rift. Sorry, the Quest.
The Quest is around.
Yeah, but no, the Quest you
200.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me see.
I think the Quest is like $300-$400, right? And with the Quest to play Half-Life Alyx, you also need the sync cable to hook into the computer, right? Which is, I think, the sync cable by itself is like $50 or something, right?
Yeah.
Or $100 I can't remember. But anyway, like the costs of entry is still very high, right? So if you're like out here in the world saying I have to play the next Half-Life game, I'm going to drop $400 to $1,000. I'm questioning your judgment, or you just have a lot of free money just to be spending, right?
So Ray, yeah, give me some. I do want to try the Index. The Index is supposedly have more finger control. Is that really the biggest perk?
Well, finger control and higher resolution screen, and
so it looks better,
like faster refresh rate, right? So it's a nice headset, but
yeah, I mean,
$1,000, man.
I just can't go back to camera setup. It's really nice with the S to just put a headgear on and just play. Like I hate just location-based camera just everywhere. It just seems such a hassle. So I'm not ready to make that until the next index. But I mean, that's just I wasn't planning on talking about Alyx, but it's nice to kind of hear your thoughts on it since we did talk about it last time. I know we're boring Richard because he only cares about other PC games.
No. I'm reading about no. In other news for people who aren't watching about Half-Life, I'm reading about how the guys who made, I think, the Pandemic, the Outbreak game, has donated $250,000 to COVID research, and they're making a game about stopping a pandemic. So I don't know. I did read reviews about Half-Life Alyx too, so I'm in. Yeah, I'm also watching.
You're
listening.
Yeah, it's the best time you have some extra cash to donate to COVID because it gets your company on a bunch of headlines right now. So it's a smart marketing move. For sure.